Jimi Hendrix, Guitar, Frustration, and Creative Freedom. By 1968, Jimi Hendrix was well into his recording career when he sat down for an interview with Guitar Player magazine. At the time, the publication was only 2 years old, still carving out its place in the music world. The article, published in the December issue, had no credited author, nor did it attempt to contextualize Hendrix's career by referencing his albums or past releases. Yet, the interview remains an invaluable glimpse into Hendrix's creative mind. He speaks candidly about his struggles with his band, the Jimi Hendrix Experience, bassist Noel Redding and drummer Mitch Mitchell, as well as his battles with the Fender Stratocaster, his guitar of choice. At a time when many U.S. readers knew little about Hendrix's approach to music, this conversation offered a rare insight into the raw intensity behind his sound. Decades later, it still resonates. Music in the moment. A Jimi Hendrix performance doesn't just shake the house. It brings it crashing down in massive, electrifying waves. But somehow, the audience is never buried beneath the wreckage. He lifts them up with him, taking them somewhere beyond. That was the energy at San Francisco's Wonderland when Hendrix sat down for this interview. "All my songs happen on the spur of the moment," he said. And you knew he wasn't just spinning a line, he meant it. When asked if that level of spontaneity required studio trickery, Hendrix was quick to set the record straight. On some records, you hear all this clash and bang and fanciness, but all we're doing is laying down the guitar tracks and then adding a little echo here and there. We're not adding false electronic things. We use the same stuff as anyone else, but we use it with imagination and common sense. Like House Burning Down, we made the guitar sound like it was on fire. It's constantly shifting dimensions, and that lead guitar just cuts through everything. Hendrix's ultimate goal was communication, raw and honest. His performances weren't always the wild, exaggerated displays the public expected. "People think my stage presence is obscene, all these gestures, but that's not true most of the time," he said. "I let my emotions come through strong. If I turn my back on the audience, it's not against them. I might just be uptight about the guitar being out of tune or something. Things have to go through me, and I have to show my feelings as soon as they're there." The struggles of sound. One of Hendrix's biggest battles was with his instrument itself. "These two guitars I have now, they've been around for a while, and they just won't stay in tune. They might slip out right in the middle of a song, and I have to start fighting to get them back in tune. We tune up between every song because it's not some Flash Gordon show. Everything all neat and rehearsed. It's important for us to get our music across the best way we can, and that means doing it naturally, like tuning up before songs." Beyond the technical difficulties, Hendrix also faced creative tensions within his band. "Sometimes Mitch and Noel want to tell me something, but I might not understand, and it gets frustrating," he admitted. Anytime you make a song, you want your own personal thing in it as well as the group's. We don't compromise much. One guy has an idea and he's going to stick with it, so he does it his way. Rehearsal, at least in the traditional sense, was rare for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. "Most of our practice is thinking about it," he explained. "They might hear the same tune I have in my head, so they throw it around in their minds, picture the fingerboard. Then, when we go into the studio, I give them a rough idea. Maybe Mitch and I lay down a track by ourselves first and then add the rest. When we jam live, we just try to listen to each other." Songwriting followed a similar instinctive process. "I just keep my music in my head," he said. "It doesn't come out to the other guys until we go to the studio. Sometimes I'll go in alone, have an acid tape made and sketch out the drums, guitar, bass, and vocal. Other times I just come in banging away on the guitar and singing, saying, 'This is a new song.' We try to put ourselves into it no matter what we play." Advice for aspiring musicians. When asked what advice he had for struggling musicians, Hendrix was reluctant to offer easy answers. "It's pretty hard to give advice," he admitted. "But if these guys are really into it, if everyone from their mothers to their friends is saying, 'wow,' then they should try to get in touch with a major musician or have a record company rep come to a gig. But tell them not to sign anything too soon. Tell them to get lawyers. Managers might not know everything, but a lawyer knows what's right." Hendrix also had a word of warning about the frustrations that come with mastering an instrument. "Sometimes you're going to hate the guitar. You're going to be so frustrated you'll want to give it up. But all of this is just part of learning. If you stick with it, you'll be rewarded. Breaking musical boundaries. Despite being one of the most innovative guitarists of all time, Hendrix remained open to all forms of music. You can't just get stuck on guitar, he insisted. You have to use a little imagination and break away. There are millions of other kinds of instruments, horns, guitars, everything. Music is getting better and better, but the idea now isn't to get as complicated as possible. It's to put as much of yourself into it as you can. For Hendrix, guitar wasn't just an instrument. It was an extension of his voice, his thoughts, his emotions. He played his Stratocaster in a way no one else did, flipping it upside down, inverting the strings, making it an entirely different machine in his hands. He didn't play to impress, he played to express. I write songs to release frustration. I like to play lead sometimes so I can express myself, but the way I play lead is a raw type of way. It comes to you naturally. That was the essence of Jimi Hendrix, unfiltered, untamed, and entirely his own.